Let's explore how to accept chaos and prepare for worse times. This evening's lesson is drawn from a good-hearted question found on Reddit. Accepting impermanence. Things are nice now, but they are going to get severely worse. My life is peaceful for now, but there's a storm coming soon. It will be the worst time in my life with an unknown time as to when the sorrow will end. How do I accept my calm and peaceful time? Take two. How do I accept that my calm and peaceful time will end and a harsher reality will begin? We're going to begin with broad brushstrokes to create a sense of context. Then we're going to wade deeper into specificities. I must have been about 19 when a young woman from Arkansas told me a saying that she was familiar with, but for this Southern California Jew, it was the first time I heard it. She said, "Don't try to teach a pig to sing. It'll waste your time and annoy the pig." And when I first heard that, I laughed my ass off. I thought that was the pinnacle of wit. I think she felt I was a half-wit. But did you know that there are neuroscientific applications of this old saw? So our prefrontal cortex is really, really clever. It's great if we want to sort socks. It's great if we want to do calculus. It's wonderful if we wish to write a sonnet. But when it comes to handling our emotions, it's pretty terrible. Pretty terrible and expensive. Allow me to illustrate. When we rely upon our medial prefrontal cortex to actively concentrate. Hey, Kevin, thank you very much. And when we rely upon our the dorsal lateral region of that same prefrontal cortex to actively contemplate, a weird thing happens. fMRI studies demonstrate that our blood collects at the bottom of our limbic system in an area described as the amygdala, which functions as the seat of both anxiety and aggression. So you can think your way out of a messy sock drawer. You can think your way through a calculus problem. You can think your way through an English composition. But when we try to think our way out of our emotions, we just multiply our anxiety and aggression. Think about now, enter the two facets of our autonomic nervous system. Every time we breathe in, whether we know it or not, we are accessing our sympathetic nervous system, which has evolved not for active concentration or mind blanking, but instead to simply notice, and to do so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. This bad boy is ensconced within the thoracic or ribcage region of our spinal cord. Our sympathetic nervous system has evolved to notice. It has evolved to notice sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. It has evolved to notice that they are always changing, sometimes gently, sometimes jarringly. It has also evolved to notice the subtle fluctuations of our emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. It has evolved to notice the subtle changes of the outer world, the inner world, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. Pain is impermanent. Pleasure is impermanent. Interesting stuff is impermanent. Boring stuff is impermanent. It's all changing all the time. How do we cope with this great gob of chaos. Well, fortunately, every complex life form on this planet also has a parasympathetic nervous system. And in us humans, it can be found in both the lower lumbar region of our spinal cord as well as the tippy top of the cervical region. And it has evolved for both physical relaxation as well as mental release. This is non-intellectual. This is pre-intellectual. This is visceral, in our guts, in our spilkas. And so, if we were to sit on the edge of a pier, we could watch the tide come in. We could watch the tide go out. We could watch the little waves come. We could watch little troughs come. We would see that even though it's one pier and one ocean, it's in constant flux. At first, that could be jarring, but due to the inevitability of our breathing and our noticing and our relaxing, in time we will feel a shift. That shift could take 5 minutes or 15 minutes or 30 minutes, but a shift is inevitable. Not because of what we believe, not because of what we think, but because of how evolution has wired us. Who can forget? Attention, all OGs who are hearing my voice and looking at my goofy face. Do you remember the movie Enter the Dragon? Remember Bruce Lee's discussion with his feckless student? Don't think, feel. We cannot think our way into effective coping. We can think our way into an analog of coping. Consider the omnivore's dilemma. He brought up a wonderful point. I'm a vegan, but I didn't say that movie. He brought up a wonderful point. That there's something that looks like a tomato, and they sell it at the market. It's kind of red. It's almost perfectly spherical. But it doesn't smell like a tomato, and it sure as hell doesn't taste like a tomato or have the mouthfeel of a tomato. It's an analog of a tomato. And once you've gone to a farmer's market and you've had organic, heirloom tomatoes in season, you can never go back to an analog. Similarly, once you've worked with the coping mechanisms of our autonomic nervous system, although you might treasure your prefrontal cortex, you will know that although it is good for many things, when it comes to emotional management, not so much. Consider, if you will, the words of William Wallace. Everybody dies, but not everybody lives. What mindfulness and meditation do is not only help us weather the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, but help us to transmute that personal pain, the legitimate, perfectly understandable personal pain, into a love for all beings everywhere. We dread our pain. We want happiness for ourselves, and then that spontaneous momentum continues forth. And not only do we dread our pain, but we begin to dread other people's pain. Not only do we naturally crave our pleasure, but we wish to see that all beings everywhere have their needs met in the most wonderful way. And this is what separates the adults from the children, the ability to take the absolute gurk life has to offer us, the raw, stinking sewage. Allow it to desiccate, allow the pathogens to die, and allow it to become fodder for that same heirloom tomatoes. I do look forward to sharing the specifics, the idiot-proof instructions with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent about 8 hours a day, almost every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each sect of Buddhism so that you would not have to. Welcome, my friends, to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. Greetings, Kevin. Greetings, James. Greetings, oh Charlotte of the web. Are the kitty cats present? It ain't a live stream unless Click and Clock are present. That's what I say. So, welcome to Kind Gaze's Easy Meditation. Who is this kind gaze? Well, known in Sanskrit as Avalokiteshvara and known in Tibet as Chenrezig. Zik. Those who traverse the path of being rigid, fearful, and controlling superstitiously view him as an entity to be worshipped and supplicated. However, those of us with the very good fortune to have stumbled upon the path of being flexible, loving, and laid back view kind gaze merely as an archetype, whose iconography reminds us that we are wired to master, no less practice, awareness and letting go, love and letting go, as well as bliss and letting go. We begin with Lama Kino, known in English as calling the teacher from afar, which is a great way to get your feet wet and begin practicing bliss and letting go. Please chant with me. Let us invite real or imagine Lama Amitabha to the crown of our head, that in the union of bliss and letting go we may train. During our in-breath, we can silently and mentally recite Lama come. During our exhalation, we can silently and mentally recite to this crown. I have an ulterior motive, and that is simple. I'm going to cunningly and dastardly use 4 exercises to get you up to speed so that you can meditate like a Jedi, because I'm just stupid that way. We'll begin by introducing you to mindfulness, which is the 7th fold of the Buddha's 8-fold path. My friends, what if enlightenment was nothing more than the mastery of the Buddha's 8-fold path? As a child, we learn to master tying our shoes. As an adult, we can master the Buddha's 8-fold path. And just as I mentioned during the opening lesson, we are wired during each inhalation to notice. Not to practice mind blanking, not to practice active concentration, but to perceive vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Well, if that's the case, if we are to eschew, that's a fancy word, isn't it? If we are to eschew active concentration, then what are we going to do with our exhalation? We're going to treat our breath the way a piano student of yore might treat their metronome. When we notice our body spontaneously breathing in, we could silently and mentally recite the 12-syllable phrase, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind. When we notice our body breathing out, we could silently and mentally recite, relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature. Yes, this is totally ungainly, but it's a useful stepping stone. Wasn't it the Monkees who sang "I'm Not Your Stepping Stone"? That's a good song. So I'd like to do this for 16 rounds. A round is one in-breath followed by one out-breath. And we're going to count 16 rounds, oddly enough, upon the 4 fingers of our left hand. During each in-breath, we're going to advance our left thumb, placing its tip upon one of the 12 sets of creases, or one of the 4 tips of our 4 fingers. I gotta give you a caveat. I'm doing this jibber-jabbering, therefore I'm breathing faster than you. So, at the time it takes me to do 16 rounds, you might only accumulate 8 or 12 rounds. That's not an indictment. Please don't beat yourself up. Let's begin playing with this exercise together right now. So how does this relate to this evening's practice? Anticipating unpleasant change can make us feel turbulent. Perceptions, emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings. However, as we relax, as we exhale, we might feel ourselves relaxing, even just a little bit. And as we relax, that same mind that perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, and recalls could begin to feel a little bit less graspable. And so can all that it perceives, or considers, or recalls, or imagines. From this point forward, for the remainder of this evening's live stream, I'm just going to have my hands in my lap. We turn our attention now to the outer set of preliminary practices, and be forewarned, we're going to flip back and forth between chanting and silent meditation. This keeps our meditation fresh, prevents it from becoming something drowsy and stale. Let us courageously exercise the vulnerability to notice other stress, that the seeds of empathy we may sow. Instead of torturing ourselves with a fear of karma, may we view interdependence as the opportunity for our love to lighten the loads of others. Whoops, wrong button. Rather than torment ourselves with a dread of death, may we view impermanence as that which makes of grasping an absurdity. Instead of straining to make the most of each precious meditation opportunity, we could simply flow from the scented spontaneity generated by mindfulness and meditation. We come now to our second of 4 exercises. We discussed how, because of our sympathetic nervous system, during our inhalations, we're able to notice all manner of things. Sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like, emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, and imaginings, the outer, the inner, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. Well, what do we do with those things once we notice them? This brings us to meditation, the eightfold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. As I mentioned during the opening lesson, every time we exhale, we access our parasympathetic nervous system automatically. That's why it's called the autonomic nervous system. This parasympathetic nervous system is ensconced within both the lower lumbar region of our spinal cord as well as the tippy top of the cervical region. This parasympathetic nervous system is evolved for both physical relaxation as well as mental release. Now, on one hand, the vulnerability is the price we pay for mindfulness. We never feel quite as vulnerable as when we're naked. Especially in the doctor's office with those damn paper gowns, right? That's probably why the 2 individuals comprising this archetype of meditation are depicted as naked, to remind us of vulnerability. But they're also depicted as being translucent and as non-graspable bulls and rainbow. Why is that? Because every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was less tangible. Now, since all complex life forms on this planet have evolved to think symbolically, let's sprinkle some figurative language into the mix. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could begin to feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Any good English teacher will remind us that a simile is only as useful as it is relatable. Therefore, we gotta ask, what's a real-world example of a non-graspable vast empty void? How about the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn? Which, although could be compelling to the eye, is rather non-graspable to the hand. During this second of 4 exercises, as we inhale, please silently and mentally recite sitting tall, that we might remind our body to generate a vertical traction between our tush and our head, between our kulu and our cabeza. During our exhalation, please silently and mentally recite the 3-syllable verb relaxing. Let us practice the inner set of preliminary practices in a manner that is inspired by the final meditation manual dictated by the great Tibetan yogi Zalpa Rinpoche, a meditation manual that was lauded by the 14th Dalai Lama of Tibet. Please chant with me. In our compassion may we long to free all beings from the toxic tyranny of ever, hating, craving, and clinging, metaphorically known as the 3 mental poisons. In our pragmatism, may our liberation of our lovers be fueled by your reliance on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students, described by the metaphor of the 3 wish-fulfilling jewels. Rather than squander our time and energy in defensiveness, How much wiser could it be to learn all mistakes' lessons that effortlessly flow from the centered spontaneity of mindfulness and meditation? A life squandered in competition and greed leads not to peace and fulfillment, better to live in cooperation and generosity. Add lives in me, this mind shoot out crowns on, purifying, multiplying, and offering my stuff to the beings of nirvana and samsara. Let us discuss the first of 3 sets of fringe benefits that come from a regular practice of mindfulness and meditation. Now, this was already discussed during the opening lesson, how swapping out active concentration for passive mindfulness and swapping out active contemplation for passive meditation makes us loving. This loving kindness constitutes 50% of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. This is most likely why the greatest Dzogchen Lamas of Tibet have always insisted that the highest love is spontaneous and uncontrived. It's also most likely why this couple, which comprise this archetype of enlightenment, are always depicted just as beautiful as the artist is able to, paint. During our inhalation, let us kick back and simply watch the play of mind as it perceives, emotes, intends, reasons, recalls, and imagines. While silently and mentally we recite, notice this. During our exhalation, let us physically relax into the non-graspable nature, into mind's non-graspable nature. As silently and mentally we continue to recite the 3-syllable verb relaxing. Let us bring Guru Yoga, also known as Lama Naljor, into Energy Work's path of bliss and letting go. Please chant with me. Let us invite real or imagined Lama Amitabha Yabhyam into our heart mind. Let's try this again. I added a preposition. Let us invite real or imagined Lama Amitabha Yabhyam to our heart mind, that in the union of bliss and letting go we may train. Oh, look at that. An editing opportunity. Let us explore the second set of fringe benefits that come from practicing mindfulness and meditation at least once every 12 hours or so. Notice this gal, the color of the cumulus cloud, and how she actively sports in tantric union. This reminds us that contrivance is always trumped by spontaneity. Consider her partner, the color of an azure sky, who appears to be passively enjoying that same tantric union. This reminds us that there are many flavors of spontaneity, and that the scattered spontaneity we might sample after our third espresso will always be trumped by the centered spontaneity accessed through mindfulness and meditation. But wait, there's more. Things change. Sometimes things change from beautiful to ugly, from harmonious to discord, from pleasure to pain, from delicious to disgusting, from fragrant to foul. And yet, when our choices, utterances, and deeds are guided by the effortless effort of love's centered spontaneity, our lives, despite all the rigmarole, can begin to smack of the bliss depicted, smack in the bliss of a Buddha's real or imagined paradise or Pure Land or Vati, depicted in real or fanciful Buddhist portraits. Let us practice our fourth stepping stone exercise. As we inhale, please silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this. And as we exhale, please silently and mentally recite the one-syllable verb, ease. Now that we have climbed to the contemplative cruising altitude, together as a team, let us meditate as profoundly as Ahsoka Tano on Lothal. Let us view letting go through a philosophical lens, as we bring the illusion of the horizontal duality of us and them into the dance of impermanence and interdependence known as Madhyamaka's yoga of inconceivability. Now, can you even say that word without thinking about our Sicilian friend from Princess Bride? All circumstances or lots could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into this body or form. And yes, we are harnessing the power of our own self-centeredness to fuel the fires of wisdom, which is deliciously ironic. All bodies or forms could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into this communication or speech. All interpersonal speech could be as impermanent and interdependent as if it could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into this mind. All bonds could be as impermanent and interdependent as if they could blissfully melt into rainbow light that could absorb into our vast empty void. Like the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which although tantalizing to the eye could be not graspable to the hand. What is the third set of fringe benefits from training in mindfulness and meditation? Well, as inferred in the opening lesson, The right view of impermanence is the first fold of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. And every time we breathe in, whether we know it or not, whether we feel it or not, whether we want to or not, we notice. We notice change, sometimes subtle, sometimes jarring. Changes in sights, sounds, sensations, flavors, scents, and the like. Changes in emotions, intentions, thoughts, memories, imaginings. Changings in the external, the internal, the physical, the mental, the pleasurable, the painful, the interesting, the boring, the glorious, and the grotesque. What is the key to coping with this stuff? We notice and release in harmony with our breathing. Oh, I invoke the wish of having money, true love, and the purifying baby lotus of letting go, supplicating with whom may love and letting go be mastered by all. Let us bring the experience of the four bases of mindfulness into the conventional path of love and letting go, where it is love that is emphasized, and where we leapfrog over jealousy. Rather than indulge or controlling tendencies with our follies of visualization, emotion, magic, and belief, we could just recite out these words of love in harmony with our breathing and allow our subconscious to do the heavy lifting. May all minds of all beings now be as peacefully wise as the mind of a real Lord. Imagine Buddha symbolized by a tikle one syllable zero bija mantra. As we breathe in, please silently and mentally and passively recite this italicized bit. And during our exhalation, let's physically relax as best we can into the recitation of this mantra. Om Mani Mimi Yung, 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 Om Mani Mimi Yung. May all relationships of all beings to be as joyfully loving as a real imagined Buddhist communication symbolized by the six-syllable mantra. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. May all bodies of all beings know enjoy the beautiful health seen in Buddha's statuary, depicting the blissful body of a real or imagined Devi or Yatama locked up of enlightenment such as Chenrezig. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. May all circumstances and lots of all beings now have the good fortune or boon as a Buddha's real or imagined paradise, pure land of Ati. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Let us view letting go through a physiological lens as we bring the experience of the four bases of mindfulness into the ultimate path of love and letting go, where it is letting go that is emphasized and it is pride that is leapt over. Let us sidestep the rigidity that confuses metaphors for literal statements, and relax into the flexibility that savors the chance explaining metaphors as similes. As we inhale, our circumstances or lots could appear quite vivid. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined paradise or vati of light. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we inhale, our bodies or forms could feel quite sensual. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined archetypal yidam of light. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we inhale, the interpersonal experience of communication or speech could sound quite resounding. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, it could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined mantra of light. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. As we inhale, we could notice all minds, perceptions, emotions, intentions, cognitions, recollections, and imaginings quite clearly. Yet as we relax into our exhalation, they could feel as non-graspable or void as a real or imagined bija seed cerebral of light. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Let us bring the 5 mental poisons into the path of awareness and letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever hate we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as not graspable as mirror like wisdom's clairvoyant. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever pride we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as not graspable as the equalizing wisdom of primordial voidness. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever craving we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as discerning wisdom's bliss void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever jealousy we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as all accomplishing wisdom's void intellect. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever confusion we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as all pervasive wisdom's awareness void. Let us bring the five aggregates into the path of awareness and letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever body or form we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever sensation such as pleasure, pain, or not, that we might have noticed during or inhalation, could begin to view as non-graspable as a vastum divine. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever appraisal of pleasure or pain's intensity or volume we might have noticed during our inhalation, could begin to view as non-graspable as our vastum divine. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever, that's an editing opportunity. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever impulse such as fucking, feeding, fighting, fleeing, fainting, or fawning we might have noticed during our inhalation, could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vastum divine. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever awareness of perception, emotion, intention, cognition, recollection, or imagination we might have noticed during our inhalation, could begin to feel as not graspable as a vastum divine. Let us bring the 5 thoughts into the paths of awareness and letting go. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever emotion we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vastum divine. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever intention we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non graspable as a vast empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever cognition we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever recollection we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. As we relax into our exhalation, whatever imagination we might have noticed during our inhalation could begin to feel as non-graspable as a vast empty void. Om mani mimi yung, 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 om mani mimi yung. Let us seal this practice with a love that wishes for universal enlightenment and well-being. May all minds of all beings lucid yet void now be as enlightened as O Buddha's mind symbolized by a one-syllable bija. May all speech of all beings resounding yet void now be as loving as O Buddha's speech symbolized by a multi-syllable mantra. May all forms of all beings sensual yet void now be as healthy as a yidam depicted in Buddhist statuary. May all lots of all beings appearing yet void no be as fortunate as a pure land of law depicted in Buddhist paintings. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10 3/4 hours, I would very much like to return to lead tomorrow's early meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.